stirring up anti-ICE settlement, and putting their lives and their family lives at risk.
Because you guys are all about territory, and this is 18th Street, and this is Sorrento, you guys tag everything up.
Well, Homeland Security has responded to Cynthia Gonzalez, the vice mayor of Cudahy, California, who was calling upon the gangs to go into the streets and to fight back against Homeland Security.
Also, you posted on social media that, quote, ICE is acting like a terrorist force.
And we now have a member of Congress calling federal agents a terror organization. So we have a lot to dig into. Now, before we start the video, make sure to please like the video. It's the number one way you guys are helping this channel, but it also helps others see the videos as well. And the last time we talked about the vice mayor of Cudahy, you guys did an awesome job. Here we go.
My officers and agents are enforcing immigration law. They are not secret police. They are not nice. But people hiding behind keyboards are demonizing them. They're doxing them, stirring up anti-ICE settlement, and putting their lives and their family lives at risk.
Because you guys are all about territory, and this is 18th Street, and this is Sorrento, you guys tag everything up, claiming hood. And now that your hood's being invaded by the biggest gang there is, there ain't a peep out of you.
Okay, so Cynthia Gonzalez has been rather quiet ever since she posted that video calling for gang members to fight back against Homeland Security officers. In fact, she recently skipped her own city council meeting, and I was hoping to see her publicly so I can make a video on this event. However, Homeland Security did not forget about the vice mayor. In fact, the caption of this video we're gonna watch is encouraging gangs and others to rise against or to kill ICE officers is a crime and you will be prosecuted.
Claiming hood, and now that your hood's being invaded by the biggest gang there is, there ain't a peep out of you.
Wouldn't you wear a mask if it kept your family safe? If it kept your kids safe? We ran an operation with the Secret Service where we arrested someone that was going online, taking their photos, posting their families, their kids' Instagram, their kids' Facebooks, and targeting them. So let me ask, is that the issue here, that we're just upset about the masks? Or is anyone upset with the fact that ICE officers' families were labeled terrorists?
Now, I will say a lot of the comments on this post from Homeland Security is you guys always say you're going to arrest someone, but you never do it. But I do want to remind you guys, it took about a month for Congresswoman MacGyver to actually be charged with assault charges and impediment, even though she has admitted to blocking off federal agents from arresting this mayor. A lot of this takes time, and Homeland Security wants to make sure they actually have a case here.
It appears that she is actually calling on known gang members, including the 18th Street gang, to get involved and interfere with ICE. If convicted, she is looking at actually spending up to 10 years in prison.
And I've said this before talking about Cynthia Gonzalez, this might be the first time I've ever seen right-leaning media and left-leaning media all agree what she said is very bad and she could probably go to prison for it. But again, I do want to point out, even when we look at the post, Homeland Security is straight up saying encouraging gangs and others to rise or take out ICE is a crime and you will be prosecuted. If you haven't already, make sure to please subscribe to my channel so I can give you guys more updates on this story. I do think Cynthia Gonzalez will be facing some sort of charges. However, I also know this takes a lot of time, and I think Homeland Security wants to fully make sure Cynthia Gonzalez will get in trouble for what she did.
Also, you posted on social media that, quote, ICE is acting like a terrorist force, and the White House told CNN that your, quote, disgusting comments warrant an immediate apology.
And now we have Pramila Jayapal. She is a sitting member of Congress, literally calling Homeland Security agents part of a terror organization. And this has major implications here.
They called ICE officers heroic. They're saying they're, quote, simply doing their jobs and enforcing immigration law with the utmost professionalism, and that dangerous smears by this is their words, deranged leftists like Jayapal radicalize their supporters to violently attack and obstruct federal law enforcement because of comments like Jayapal's. Assaults against ICE agents have increased 500% this year, and that number will go even higher if Jayapal doesn't stop with her smears. What is your reaction to that?
So obviously, Homeland Security is going to expect some sort of apology or some sort of explanation as to why you would call a legal federal institute members of a terror organization.
What is deranged and cruel and outrageous is that literally we are seeing ICE agents, I assume they're ICE agents, they say they are, they don't have any identification, they're wearing masks, they're in plain clothes, they are coming and kidnapping and disappearing people on the streets of the United States. I never in a million years thought that that is something that I would see here in America. And so
Okay, let's stop here for a second. Please leave your comments down below how you feel about what this member of Congress is saying, and we will talk about the legal implications about what she's saying later in the video. But I do want to remind everyone, it's the members of Congress who help create and oversee what Homeland Security is doing, to include ICE, who falls under Homeland Security. So when a member of Congress is calling the organization in which she's in charge of overseeing and helping fund, I do find it a little ironic she's willing to call them a terror organization.
I think it is the administration that has to apologize to U.S. citizens that have been rounded up, to legal permanent residents, to people with legal statuses across the country who are getting swept up, people who have been here for 20 years and committed absolutely no crimes, getting swept up by masked men who are kidnapping them and deporting them. That, to me, is what is so outrageous. It's unconstitutional, it's illegal, and it is absolutely terrorizing people, including small businesses, farmers.
I know what we're all thinking. If American citizens are all being rounded up the way she's talking about, why isn't this member of Congress going after Homeland Security? Why are we not seeing this all over the news? Well, this is because it's a little misleading. I have no problem with calling out Homeland Security. They have made plenty of mistakes. This is a very tough operation, and they have accidentally captured or picked up an American citizen they thought was an illegal citizen. However, this member of Congress is doing what a lot of members of Congress do. They categorize American citizens with illegal citizens, but because the illegal citizen has been here for a long time, this member of Congress is implying that they pretty much are an American citizen. So this is why these statements are rather confusing and don't really make sense.
Women screaming because they're being taken away by people with masks that refuse to provide IDs in unmarked cars in the middle of the day, in the middle of the streets, without any arrest warrants, without any criminal history, desperate just to provide medication to their young children, just being disappeared in the United States of America. You've got 4,000 military wasting hundreds of millions of dollars, military that are not working in our parks and playgrounds. They've taken National Guard that are teachers that are supposed to be teaching summer school. They've taken National Guard men and women off our wildfire efforts. They've taken National Guard out of fire departments and paramedic offices that can't be there in emergencies, and they're sitting there in the armories.
So this is nothing new for Homeland Security. Maybe Gavin Newsom was not referring to the Homeland Security officers as a terror organization, but as you can see, we are really in the same bubble of referring to Homeland Security as just some people who wear masks, who are snatching people off of our streets. In fact, Homeland Security is saying enough is enough. And when it comes to the legal implications of referring to ICE as a terror organization, maybe that alone is covered by the First Amendment. However, if Homeland Security can find just one case where a constituent says, well, I was influenced by what Pramila was saying, and that person decides to leak the information of a federal agent, or that person says, well, Pramila told me they are a very dangerous organization, so I decided to fight back, that right there could get this member of Congress in some very big trouble.
You said earlier that the ICE agents under the orders of President Trump are a modern-day Gestapo. Do you realize how disgusting a phrase that is, considering the history of Nazi Germany? Would you like to recant that statement?
What I said, Congressman, and I have a long history of supporting law enforcement, I said President Trump was using them as his modern-day Gestapo, not identifying who you are, coming up in unmarked vans, taking people away.
Now, interesting enough, we actually have a governor, Tim Walz, who was pressed about referring to ICE as a Gestapo, but he clarifies, well, I'm not referring to ICE as Gestapo, I'm referring to Donald Trump, as you heard. But the reason why this is an interesting comparison is because he's differentiating the two. He's saying he respects law enforcement according to his testimony. We'll get to this a little later. But the member of Congress is like, nope, ICE is a member of a terror organization. So you guys can leave your comments down below how you feel about that.
Is it the responsibility of ICE to actually deport illegal aliens in the United States who are here? Isn't that their responsibility?
Yes, it is, Congressman, except that the Constitution is not an inconvenience. It's not an either-or.
Nobody
You
said
can
an
do your
inconvenience.
job and
You have a
practice due
responsibility to deport illegal aliens, and the
Through due
president
process.
is going through that process right now.
We are
And
not
let's be very clear, the previous administration, they abused every process there is under border laws to allow more than 10 million people into the country illegally. And this is a burden on all Americans. And so the president is doing his job. So it is sick to refer to Americans who are ICE agents as Gestapo. Governor, you're wrong. You need to apologize to these agents. They're doing their jobs. They are Americans. They serve this country with honor and decency and respect. Do not diminish their work simply because you tried to make a cheap point that you could tweet. I yield.
So I wouldn't be surprised if Pramila keeps this up on the internet and keeps referring to ICE as a terror organization. I wouldn't be surprised if all of a sudden we see her sitting before her peers and other members of Congress and questioning her, hey, do you realize that you are a member of Congress and it's like part of your job to oversee all of these different federal entities to include Homeland Security? And when you refer to the organization you're supposed to be helping out and to fund and to oversee, you're referring to them as a terror organization. You're actually insulting all of us as well because we are overseeing this organization. And by the way, I think you'll find this interesting. Even the member of Congress who's being charged with assaulting Homeland Security officers, she's on the House Oversight Committee for Homeland Security. She has never even called ICE officers members of a terror organization or a Gestapo. Nothing like that.
Speaker, that's not what this country should be all about. Manu wasn't the only one. The only American citizen who's been targeted by the deportation machine, a deportation machine that will be unleashed on steroids by this one big ugly bill. We know that, in fact, is the case. That's not hyperbole.
Now, Hakeem Jeffries, as you can see, he has a little more respect for Homeland Security, but he's still referring to the whole process as the deportation machine. And a quick side note, his speech lasted 8 hours. As I was making this video, he was still rambling on about the big beautiful bill that's most likely going to get passed. But I was able to find a little sliver where he talks about deportations. Now, I want to show you guys Homeland Security. What they typically do is they make sure to let everyone know what a member of Congress is saying, especially if the implications are so high. Here's what Homeland Security is saying. These types of disgusting smears are designed to demonize and villainize our brave ICE law enforcement. This kind of garbage has led to nearly 700% increase in assaults against them as they put their lives on the line to arrest murderers, rapists, and gang members.
And Madam Secretary, CNN yesterday pushed an app that lets you track where ICE agents are. Tom Homan was saying that perhaps CNN should be prosecuted for that as obstruction of law enforcement. Your response?
Yeah, we're working with the Department of Justice to see if we can prosecute them for that, because what they're doing is actively encouraging people to avoid law enforcement activities, operations, and we're going to actually go after them and prosecute them with the partnership of PAM if we can, because what they're doing we believe is illegal.
And they may be prosecuted also for having given false reports on the attack in Iran. They were given totally false reports. It was totally obliterated, and our people have to be celebrated, not come home and say, what do you mean we didn't hit the target?
Even CNN is facing possible charges, and it looks like it's going to happen, for utilizing their platform, which they would consider a free speech platform, to talk about an application which leaks the locations of federal agents. Whether Homeland Security, FBI, doesn't matter. Now, the app is intended to go after ICE agents, but because the app is so open source and anybody can post whenever they want or how they want, all federal agents are in danger. But what I'm trying to say is the Trump administration really looks for that line to be crossed when it comes to speech. Whether you are referring to members of ICE as a terror organization, or whether you are the vice mayor of a small town in California and you call upon the local gangs and the cholos to go and fight ICE and Homeland Security, a lot of people argue, these people, well, this is free speech. It's the First Amendment. But if you do a little more studying, and the Trump administration's well aware of this, which is why we will start to see these prosecutions, or at least a lot more pressure for prosecutions, free speech is free up until there are implications of a threat or telling people to do something, as direct as the vice mayor said, or if you are a member of Congress referring to an organization as a terror organization, that has a lot of implications. If you're telling me my neighbor is involved with a terror organization, I would call the cops on them, I'd stay away from them, I'd push away from them. You see how free speech is free up until you have implications? This is why, again, we will probably start to see some more charges being pressed. But it takes a lot of time. I've been covering this for a while now with the LaMonica MacGyver stuff, the member of Congress who was charged with assaulting federal agents. We could all see it on camera. With Judge Hannah Dugan, we can see her facilitating in the hallway to move federal agents out of the way, an illegal immigrant walk out the back door and evade them. We all saw it on camera. So did Homeland Security, but they have to make sure everything is good to go once you press through with these charges. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for being here. Make sure to please subscribe. Make sure to please like. God bless, and we'll see you all later.